Hi, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. Hi, Sarah did a great job at introducing who I am, so I'm not going to go into all the details and specifics, as was already explained of what I'll be covering today. I want to make it short and sweet, but also to have you guys engaged. So as I go throughout my presentation, feel free at any point in time to leave any type of question, comments, or concerns right there in the drop box. I believe it might be on my right side, maybe your left, but I'm not 100% sure where it is. But if you see it and if I ask a question, please feel free to jump in at any point in time. This is not just me giving information to you, but it's also something about you, an exchange that is happening. Me giving information to you and you giving it some of the information I'm giving to you as well. So let's just get right into it. One of the things that I'll be talking about, but specifically, which was always already talked about and already shared, is I'll be going in a little bit detail about mentorship in detail and what that looks like and how we can connect it to the overall masses in pretty much every facet or part of our lives. And so mentorship is usually used to close the gap of the educational and emotional gaps between academics, career, peers, and the community. In academics, I don't know if how many times you were in school and you saw that one person that was doing the work and you were like, man, I wanted to be more like them. Or even in your career, you could have seen somebody excelling in your career and you're like, oh, I want to be more like them. I want to either do the things that they're doing to get there. Even a peer that you know or somebody that you admire that's even in your friend group or maybe outside in the community. These are people that you have seen that have done and have made impacts and have made etched impacts in the back of your mind. Whether you realize it or not, you're making mental notes of the things that you had realized about them and things that they have done that eventually you want to see yourself do. So a lot of times mentorship can be directly or indirectly. A lot of it is based on what it is that we see, we hear, sometimes it's visual in all these areas to be able, even in our touch, right? To even get down to the basics of how we communicate, how it is seen, and how we're able to apply it in every area of our lives. And so in doing that, it's a constant demonstration to us of how we can actually either be a mentor or be a mentor or be a mentee. That's correct. I believe that's correct. So a lot of times you don't realize you fall into one of the two categories. And a lot of the times in doing that, whether you're giving advice, whether you're seeking advice, a lot of times it's an exchange that is happening that allows everybody to be sharpened in the process. Because if you're on the mentorship side of giving the information and allowing somebody either to trail you, watch you, and see what or how it is or how you do things, or argue if you're on the mentee side where you're actually watching it. Both are in a training process because what you use for one person may not necessarily be what you use for the next person, and vice versa. I know throughout my life, me personally, a lot of the things that I've learned for myself has been not traditional. A lot of times you fall into things and you're like, man, how did I get here? I know for me, even in the entrepreneurship, into the mentorship journey of actually people actually think I'm worth listening to. You know, you get to a place where you're like, man, you're going to listen to what I have to say. You know, does that, comment below if you've ever been in a situation, honestly, where you have either been mentored or someone has said something to you and it's really stuck with you. Because in that process, that would made you think, okay, well, possibly like you can be a mentor or you can be you can be a mentee in something that they said or something that they did. Is there anybody who had a situation or something that has happened that was like, oh man, I really like what they're saying, or oh man, I would really I think that because a lot of people come to me for advice, that it will allow me to actually excel in those divisions, whether that be academically, you can be in your academic career, it could be in your regular career, it can be in your community, or in your peer-to-peer situation. I don't know if anybody commented. Sarah, please keep a watch on that if anybody had anything to say in that.
Guys, feel free to comment.
Please feel free to comment. But if not, I will continue on. And at any point in time, at the end, or even when it comes close to question and answer, please feel free to even ask any questions in that as well. So as we continue, one of the things that I will say that for me, I was getting ready to go into a little bit of storytelling time. That's what I like to call it. When it was coming to a place where I didn't know I had a voice or impact was by accident, right? I had just not so long ago finished with my master's at the time. And I was getting ready to go into the career force. I had been in different careers, and there was a few things I was doing contractual work at the time as well. And I never forget, my sister-in-law came to me and she was like, "Hey, would you consider, like, being a part-time substitute teacher or going into that?" And at the time, if you knew me, like, kids were not. I didn't think kids were my calling. Like, I love them, as well as I like them like close, and I love them from a distance. But I didn't necessarily know that I could have an impact on the youth of the time and what they were doing. And one of the things that I realized that when I jumped into that, I had started to substitute teach like here and there, and I was like, cool. Well, I'll do this while I'm going. In the time, I thought I would be going back to school to get my doctorate degree. And while I was doing that, I realized that you showing up for somebody every day and you demonstrating what it is to just be disciplined and continue to focus on different things impacts those around you in ways that you wouldn't even think, even you can think or imagine. And so when it began to happen in the sense of that, I was showing up for these students, and they were constantly coming to me. One of the things that I realized is that it wasn't perfection, it was imperfection that allowed them to feel that they could trust me to want to even listen to what I had to say in that realm when I was substitute teaching. And what I began to realize is that the more I didn't say I knew everything, the more I came out and said, hey, I'm learning just like you are. And sometimes I'm going to make mistakes, but I sometimes will have to apologize to my class and say to them out front, I'm really sorry for what happened yesterday. I didn't mean to get mad at X, Y, and Z. And they would say to me, it's okay, Miss Thomas, or it's okay, we understand. And it's in being transparent that people, and even the kids in that class at the time, a lot of them, they said that they were not going to be able to make it. They were not going to be able to excel. I was in a charter school system. So at the time, in that, it was a little more challenging to be able to give the information that was required and have them retain it, because a lot of them were below level in which they needed to achieve. But I don't think that it's ever below level by accident. I think anybody can rise to the occasion if you nurture them to allow them to grow. And that's what you're doing even when you're mentoring somebody. You're nurturing them, allowing them to grow. All of those kids that were in all of the classes that I've ever substituted, they said they were below average. All of them in my classes raised to above average and beyond. And a matter of fact, they have graduated. I know I look very young. You know what I mean? I look kind of young, but at the same time as well, these kids have actually matured throughout time, and they've become professionals today, which they also reach out to me on times of different things. And now that I look back, I'm like, man, how many years later to see how they've grown and they've become, and still reaching back at me, even in their career levels of life, to determine how they're going to continue on or what is the best route for them to take, realizing that you can have an impact as well on people in your area of influence to continue to go forward. I also did financial literacy teaching, which I was very good at. I mean, I stumbled into that as well, where I did financial literacy as well as entrepreneurship. How I was able to affect those kids to be able to think outside of the box was allowing them to be able to imagine the impossible. Because once you imagine the impossible and work towards that, you're able to realize that things that seem so hard to reach are actually something that you can attain. And so in being able to attain that, one of the things that I had noticed, and even watching the process with that, is you have to incorporate, everybody learns, everybody understands differently. Some people are visual learners, some people you can hear and they can comprehend and grasp, and sometimes people also need to be able to touch things to know what it is that they're understanding. And maybe sometimes you need a combination. I gave the students, those who are in that who are in who are in the financial literacy as well as the entrepreneurship class, the opportunity to grow. And in those areas of being incorporating, especially those 4 avenues of learning, to be able to create systems not only for themselves, that for future organizations that you might even see going around today, that they were able to birth out of that same room, giving them the opportunity to breathe, to break out, but understanding that their ideas were not stupid, but they were an ability for them to be able to expand it and to grow into some companies that they're in today as well. And incorporating those same things from a visual standpoint, from a hearing standpoint, for actually be able to touch certain things that allow them to be able to grow. And one of the biggest things that we did in that setting in particular was that we use the game of life. And people be like, well, life, how does that apply? But the game of life is life. Like, it allowed them to take that game and expand it because one of the things I said is life is whatever you make it, right? So you can go throughout life, you're going to have kids, you're going to buy a car, you're going to be able to invest and do real estate and to do all these different avenues in life that it presents. But there also might be some challenges. I don't know, bankruptcy, things that happen in your life that might set you back, but also prepares you forward. One of the things that is so important when you're a mentor or you're in those places is helping people to understand that failure is not an option. And even when you fail, the best people in life, even down to the millionaires that before they became a million or have become a millionaire, they have failed a few times to get to that million. And once they got to that million, sometimes they lost it all, but they were able, based on the fact that they lost it, they knew how quickly they could get back to the top of being a millionaire and beyond. And that's one of the things that I told them. I said, in that classroom setting, in that learning environment, to expand, they were able to grow, they were able to create different opportunities. Someone created like this whole marketing plan for the system of robotics that is actually going on today at one of their universities. A lot of people did a lot of different things within that time frame that allowed them to expand their minds, but know that it was possible for it to be done. So if you are listening to this and you're listening to me and you're like, all these things are possible, and you're saying to yourself that maybe, even in hearing this, that you feel like mentorship is something that you can actually learn from, grow from, or be a part of, look at your area of influence, because you never know how you're influencing people to be the best versions of themselves, and how you just being who you are creates an atmosphere for somebody else to follow you in the process. So that's the transformative power of mentorship, how you can actually be transforming people and not realizing that you're doing it. And it makes an impact on not only yourself, but you, because you're doing something that allows you to feel like you're contributing to your community, but also those around you, for them to be better leaders and not followers, but to also understand when to lead, but sometimes to follow in leading and be a great servant leader to those around them, to learn how to actually be entrepreneurs or financial leaders, or to be to show up in their workplace and be the best person that they can be, even from an academic standpoint of not knowing certain things, but able to apply those skill sets of functionality, but also knowing how to visualize, how to feel things, how to apply the hearing auditory things as well too, for them to be able to know how to move forward in being who they are called to be. Because remember, we don't all learn the same, but it doesn't mean that we're not learning. And so it's able to take those skills throughout life to be able to apply it, even in your work setting, even in your job setting, even in your when you're learning in your career setting, even when you're in school, even when you're at the bus stop. You'll be surprised. All these things apply in life that allows you to continue to grow and to be the mentors that you're called to be. So that was one of the things that I've learned throughout and have been able to apply in every area of just not only for myself, but for those around me. And this allowed me, in doing that, I was able to show the complements of non-traditional learning and the power by creating intentional support systems to build learners' confidence. In doing the confidence of building them up for them, they were able to turn around and say, hey, I can do that. I can do this. It doesn't have to be how everybody else is doing it. It doesn't have to look how everybody else is doing it. It doesn't have to be how everybody else is doing it. And I said at the end of the day, even in any workshops or curriculum development that was even done in those settings, I let them be the creative minds, because at the end of the day, no matter what it is, even if I'm mentoring somebody one-on-one, or if we're in a group setting, or we're creating an opportunity for them to always feel that they can public speak on any platform that they want to be on, anything that they're doing. One-on-one is still an audience. And so if you are being able to have learned the art of communication, you can be able to talk and be in front of 2 or 3 people or a massive amount of people. And once you learn that, even on one-on-one, the same communication style that you present in your one-on-one communications can open the doors for you to be able to do that in a bigger setting, on a bigger platform or bigger stage, and allow them to be able to feel comfortable with public speaking as well, using their body language to make sure that was a part of the things that they were doing, to make sure you're engaging with the audience, just like I'm doing now. So Sarah, if you see anybody that's in the comments that said anything, please,
I did.
Don't feel free. Come on.
Casey Williams did comment.
Okay. Was there anything that he said before I close out my small presentation?
Casey Williams said, I think one event that impacted me while I was a mentee was when I went to college. I learned from most of the classes that I do best when it's based on my special interest, which is art in general.
Oh my gosh, that like is so amazing. Only because not because you just commented, but also because it was you were able to learn something in the process to apply it to yourself to be able to use it in your studies. Which I say, clap and bravo to you. And so I just want to wrap it up really quickly. I don't want to take away from anybody's time, but I do want to say that mentorship is at the time is the answer and allows you to actually be a part of something great. If you don't already have one, please make sure you become a part of a workshop, one-on-one coaching. It allows you to be able to have certain things and allows you to understand to create the verbal skills, the written communication, and be able to move forward and being the best version of what you can be. So I'll give it back to Sarah and take it back to you.
Thank you so much.